She left her location on. That's how I knew she was lying. I wasn't checking. I wasn't stalking. I deleted the app months ago when she told me she needed space. But Apple doesn't care about boundaries. Her iPad still pinged at 2:56 a.m. and lit up my kitchen counter like a confession. Not Marley's apartment. Not the rooftop wine bar. It said, Howard Johnson by Wyndham, exit 67B. I stood there in my socks, holding a half-eaten slice of cold pizza, staring at the screen like it was a crime scene photo. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I just felt stupid. Small. Like the last guest at a surprise party for someone who never showed up. An hour earlier, she'd texted me. If you're going out with friends, forget about me. We hadn't spoken all night. I didn't even leave the house. I microwaved dinner. I folded the laundry. I watched an old documentary on plane crashes and fell asleep on the couch. So I replied, not with anger, not with sarcasm, just with the truth. Who are you? Because I meant it. Who is this version of her? The woman who used to snort laugh at cereal commercials. The one who cried when she killed a spider. The one who used to sneak chocolate chips into the pancake batter so I'd accidentally smile on hard mornings. That woman wouldn't be holed up in a roadside hotel at 3 a.m., hiding under somebody else's last name. And no, I didn't blow up her phone. I didn't drive out there. I didn't rage. I sat down at the table, opened notes on my phone, and started writing this. Because I think I knew. This night wasn't the betrayal. It was the proof. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of rage or heartbreak. Those came later, but because I couldn't stop watching the tiny gray dot on the map. It stayed there for nearly 20 minutes, then shifted slightly to the east. Then again, the room number changed twice in the hotel's online check-in system. I know because I logged in as if I were trying to book the same place. Every time a room became unavailable, I took note. At 3:14 a.m., she turned off her location. I laughed out loud. Not a real laugh. More like the kind of sound a broken engine makes before it dies. There's something humiliating about realizing you were never even worth a proper cover story. Not even a convincing lie. Just a vague, going out with friends, and a text sent like an afterthought. If I hadn't seen the iPad, I never would have known. The worst part? She wanted me to see that text. The forget about me one. It wasn't accidental. It was strategic. A little emotional grenade lobbed into my sleep, just to see if I'd explode or crumble. She probably imagined me texting back something dramatic, maybe begging her to come home, accusing her, crying. But all I gave her was, "Who are you?" And she stayed silent. That silence was louder than any reply. Around 4 a.m., I went into our closet and noticed something else. Her small red suitcase was gone. The one she only used for overnight stays. Not business trips. Not vacations. Just short, deliberate absences. She'd packed that when I wasn't looking, maybe earlier in the day while I was in the garage fixing the shelf she asked me to mount last week. The irony didn't escape me. That shelf is still leaning against the wall, unfinished. I sat on the bedroom floor and opened the bottom drawer of her nightstand. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't. I was searching for something that still made sense. Her favorite lotion was missing. The rose one I always hated. The small perfume bottle she wore on our anniversary was gone too. Lip gloss. A backup toothbrush. She had prepared for this. This wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't reckless. It was designed. She planned to leave, make sure I saw the message, and wait for the chaos to unfold. And when I didn't react the way she expected, when I didn't follow the script of the needy husband begging to be chosen, she went quiet. And that quiet was her checkmate. I didn't go to the hotel. I didn't call. I sat there until sunrise, watching the light crawl across the hallway tiles like a secret being revealed inch by inch. And somewhere in the middle of all that stillness, I made a decision. I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. Because I realized something. She was expecting a reaction. But what she wasn't expecting was for me to wait. Because the truth always shows itself. And I had a feeling she was about to tell on herself in a way she couldn't undo. By the time she came home, the sun was already high, spilling through our dusty blinds and cutting streaks of light across the floor like caution tape. I didn't say anything when I heard the lock click. I didn't even turn around. I just sat at the kitchen table, pretending to scroll my phone, heart pacing like it was being chased. The front door opened slowly, hesitant, like even she wasn't sure what version of herself she needed to be. There was a soft creak, the sound of her keys dropping into the bowl, And then silence. Long silence. No greeting. No fake yawn. No sorry, fell asleep at Marley's. Nothing. Just the slow exhale of someone who was sure I wouldn't ask questions. She passed behind me, her perfume lingering like guilt. She smelled like citrus and hotel soap. Not hers. She moved toward the hallway like I wasn't even there. I waited. Waited for her to say anything. Even a lie would have helped. But all I heard was the sound of her unzipping the suitcase she thought I wouldn't notice was gone. I didn't look at her. I couldn't. I was afraid I'd stare too hard, and she'd see the bruise in my chest I was trying to pretend wasn't there. So I just got up, grabbed my hoodie, and told her I was going for a walk. She didn't ask where. She didn't even look up. As I stepped outside, something odd caught my eye. Parked 2 houses down, half on the curb, was a matte black sedan I'd never seen before. Not flashy, just new enough to stand out on our worn-out street. What made my stomach twist wasn't the car. It was what I saw sticking out from underneath it, a pair of shoes. Men's dress shoes. Brown leather. Polished. Expensive. I'd seen those shoes before. Once. 3 months ago at her company's holiday party, when I dropped off her charger after she forgot it. She insisted I leave it at the front desk. But I caught a glimpse of them while I was waiting. Those same shoes, on a guy shaking her hand a little too long, laughing a little too hard at her jokes. He looked like the type of man who didn't ask permission. The kind of guy who'd sit at someone else's dinner table without waiting to be invited. And now, those shoes were here. I stood frozen on the sidewalk, watching the shadow of someone moving inside the car, reaching into the glove box, adjusting the mirror. Not in a rush. Comfortable. Like he'd been parked there a while. My heart dropped. He wasn't following her. He wasn't picking her up. He was waiting to see what I would do. So I did nothing. I kept walking. Past the car. Past the bakery. Past the bench where she once kissed me and said I was the safest place she'd ever known. But I wasn't going to play safe anymore. Because if she wanted to gamble with secrets, she was about to find out I had a few of my own. I didn't go home until after dark. Not because I was afraid to face her, but because I needed the silence of the world shutting down to think clearly. There's something oddly therapeutic about being alone in a diner booth, eating pancakes at 7 p.m., with strangers around you pretending their lives aren't burning too. I ordered coffee I didn't drink and stared through the window, watching couples walk by like they hadn't destroyed each other yet. When I finally walked back into the house, it smelled different. The air was too clean, like someone had sprayed something artificial to cover up something real. She wasn't in the living room, and the lights were dimmed just enough to make it feel staged, like a realtor was about to show it to a potential buyer. I went straight to the bathroom to splash cold water on my face. That's when I saw it. Near the door, just behind the laundry basket, was something small and metallic. I crouched down, heart already thudding, and picked it up between 2 fingers. A cufflink. Silver. Monogrammed. Not mine. I don't wear cufflinks. I never have. The only formal thing I own is a hand-me-down suit from my brother's wedding that doesn't even fit right. But I'd seen these before. I remembered the flash of silver when that same guy at her office party pushed his sleeves back while leaning into her space like he already owned it. She was careless. Or maybe she wanted me to see it. A quiet threat. A message. I stared at that piece of metal like it could explain everything. But it didn't offer answers. Just proof. Cold, simple proof that someone else had been in my house. In my bathroom. Probably in my bed. And still, I said nothing. At dinner, she acted like everything was fine. Told me about a funny meme her coworker sent. Asked if I wanted to try that new chicken recipe next week. She was playing a part so well it made me sick. I nodded along, pretending I didn't know the whole scene was fake. I even laughed once. God help me. I laughed, just to see if she'd flinch. She didn't. After dinner, she said she was tired. She always says that now. I stayed in the kitchen, washing plates that suddenly felt like props in someone else's life. I opened the drawer next to the stove and dropped the cufflink inside. Quietly. No drama. Just left it there. Like bait. If she found it, she'd know I knew. And if she didn't, well, that would tell me something too. I stayed up late that night, sitting by the bedroom door, listening to her breathe on the other side. Not snore. Not shift. Just breathe. Like she didn't have a single worry in the world. Meanwhile, I couldn't stop thinking about the message she sent. If you're going out with friends, forget about me. The arrogance of it. The confidence. The way she'd written it like she already assumed I'd chase her. But I didn't. And now? She was starting to wonder why. The next morning, she found it. I was watching her from the hallway mirror. Not directly, but just enough to catch her reflection in the kitchen as she opened the drawer. Her hand paused for barely half a second. Just a flicker. She saw it. She knew it wasn't mine. And she closed the drawer like nothing happened. But she smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a nervous one. It was the kind of smile you give someone when you think you've outplayed them and they haven't even realized the game started. That smile told me everything. She thought I was weak. Predictable. Harmless. She thought I'd say nothing forever. That night, she was extra kind. Sat closer on the couch. Asked about my day like she used to. Touched my shoulder when she passed by me. Her voice had that soft, airy tone again, the one I hadn't heard in months. Like she was trying to put the mask back on, just in case I'd started to peel it off. And for a moment, I almost let myself believe her. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe the cufflink wasn't his. Maybe the hotel was just a mistake. Maybe the shoes outside weren't what I thought they were. That's what she wanted me to think. Wanted to fog up the glass just enough to make me question my own reflection. But then came the voicemail. I hadn't even heard my phone ring. I was out back stacking wood when the notification popped up. One new message from a number I didn't recognize. The preview said nothing, just a timestamp. Curious, I stepped into the shed and hit play. At first, silence. Then muffled voices. Laughing. A woman, definitely her, saying something I couldn't quite make out over the music. And then a man's voice, much clearer. Babe, your husband's probably writing one of his little sad poems right now. Laughter. He won't even notice. He never does. Click. I stood there in the dark, gripping my phone like it might burst in my hand. The shed was too small, the air too thick. I had to sit down. My knees were weak and not from heartbreak, from fury. Not the explosive kind. The cold kind. The kind that makes you see everything with frightening clarity. They were laughing at me. I wasn't just being cheated on. I was being made into a joke. A character in their private comedy. And still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because that voicemail, it wasn't just betrayal. It was evidence. And I wasn't ready to let go of my leverage. Not now. Not after the way she smiled when she saw the cufflink. She thought I was stupid. She was wrong. I was patient. And patience is a dangerous thing in the hands of a man who's already lost everything. I didn't even hesitate. That same night, after listening to the voicemail 5 more times, once with headphones, just to be sure, I downloaded the file, renamed it something unassuming like Q3 Recap, MP3, and attached it to a blank email. No message, no subject line, just the file, quietly sent to her work email from an anonymous burner account I created 2 years ago to track a fraudulent charge on our credit card. She always checked her work email late at night. Said it helped her stay ahead of the chaos. That night, she opened her laptop on the couch and started typing like normal. But then I saw it. That brief pause, the stiffening of her jaw, the way her hands lifted slightly off the keyboard like she'd just touched something too hot. She stared at the screen for nearly a full minute. Then she shut the laptop slowly. Everything okay? I asked, not looking up from the dishes. She blinked like she forgot I was in the room. Yeah, just spam. Weird attachments. I nodded. Happening a lot lately. She didn't respond. Just got up, walked to the bedroom, and stayed there for the rest of the night. I cleaned the entire kitchen with surgical precision. Every crumb, every drop. I needed the control. I needed to remind myself that something, anything, could still be cleaned. The next morning, I found her standing in the kitchen already dressed for work, makeup done, phone in hand, purse on her shoulder. Too early, even for her. She jumped when I came around the corner. I've got an early meeting, she said, not making eye contact. Need me to pack your lunch? I asked, already knowing the answer. No, I'll grab something on the way. She was out the door before I could even sip my coffee. I watched her pull out of the driveway, and for the first time in months, she looked nervous. That voicemail wasn't just evidence. It was a crack in her armor. And I wasn't done widening it. That day, I finally called the hotel. I knew it was risky, maybe even pathetic, but I needed confirmation. I asked to speak to a manager, told them I'd lost something important and gave them the date, her name, and a very sincere voice. There was a pause, then a rustle of paper. Yes, the woman said. Checked in under, Ashley Carrington, checked out Sunday morning. Paid in cash. No ID on file. Ashley Carrington. Her middle name was Ashley. Carrington was her mother's maiden name. She had created an alias. Not for security. Not for privacy. For secrecy. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a fling. This was a second life stitched together from scraps of the one we shared. And the worst part wasn't that she lied. It was that she got good at it. I spent the rest of the day walking through our house like it was a museum of lies. Every photo on the wall. Staged. Every note she ever left me on the fridge. Scripted. Every, "I love you," she mumbled half asleep. Rehearsed. But I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was focused. Because now I wasn't just trying to survive what she'd done. I was planning what I'd do next. 3 days passed. 3 days of pretending I didn't know she was unraveling. She barely touched her dinner. Checked her phone with that twitchy glance people get when they're waiting for a bomb to go off. She started locking the bathroom door again. That's when I knew. She wasn't sure what I knew anymore. And that was perfect. So I gave her a gift. I wrapped it in the exact blue paper she once used for my birthday years ago, the kind with little white dots like snow. I even tied it with a ribbon from our Christmas box. Left it on her side of the bed before she came home. No note. No occasion. Just the box. Inside was a small, black flash drive. It contained a copy of the voicemail, the photo of the cufflink, a screen recording of her hotel's guest registry, showing the reservation under her fake name. Nothing labeled. Nothing organized. Just raw files, like puzzle pieces thrown in her lap. She found it at 10:47 p.m. I watched her through the crack in the bedroom door as she sat on the edge of the bed, holding the box like it might explode. She didn't open it. Not immediately. She stared at it for almost 15 minutes, unmoving, like she was trying to calculate what version of the truth she needed to fabricate next. I stayed in the hallway, heart pounding, knowing that box would destroy whatever illusion she had left. At 11:03 p.m., she finally opened it. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just sat there, dead still, as if her entire body had powered down. Then she did something strange. She walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of wine with trembling hands, and left the box, still open, on the counter. She didn't even try to hide it. Didn't try to explain. When I came in and pretended to notice it for the first time, she looked at me like a stranger in her own home. "You went through my stuff," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "No," I replied. "Your stuff came to me." She opened her mouth, then closed it. No excuses. No denial. Just fear. For the first time since this whole thing began, she didn't look smug. She looked small, and I should have felt victorious. But all I felt was grief. Because there she was, the woman I loved, or thought I loved, reduced to a scared shadow in my kitchen. And I realized something cruel in that moment. I wasn't just losing her. I'd already lost her. Long before the voicemail. Long before the cufflink. Maybe even before the first late-night excuse. I just hadn't been ready to bury the version of her I married. Until now. And still, I didn't ask where she'd been. I didn't demand to know his name. Because I knew she was going to tell me anyway. Not because she wanted to, but because silence was no longer an option. She didn't say a word that night. Didn't cry. Didn't yell. She sat across from me on the edge of the bed, wringing her hands like a teenager waiting for a verdict she already knew was coming. Her eyes were red, but dry. Her lips kept twitching like she wanted to speak, but didn't know where to begin. I waited, because now, for once, I had time. Finally, she said it. "I made a mistake." I nodded. She wasn't wrong, but she wasn't done. "He doesn't mean anything." I let out the faintest laugh. Not mocking, not cruel. Just empty. The kind of laugh that lives in your chest when you've already run out of hurt. She looked down. "I just felt like I didn't matter to you anymore." That stung more than I expected. Not because it was true, but because part of her might have believed it. That's the thing with betrayal. It's never clean. There's always a sliver of something that once mattered buried underneath the rot. And that's what makes it so hard to walk away. But I had to. I looked her in the eyes, and for the first time in weeks, I wasn't angry. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't spiraling. I was just clear. I think we both stopped matching to each other long before he ever showed up. She flinched, but didn't deny it. We talked until the sun came up. No yelling. No door slamming. Just two people quietly packing up the version of their lives that no longer fit. She cried when I said I was leaving, but she didn't beg me to stay. I think she knew. That would have been for her, not for me. That afternoon, I packed a bag. Not out of rage. Not to punish her. Just because I knew I couldn't grow roots in a place that made me question my own reflection every morning. As I walked out, She handed me an envelope. Inside was a photo from the first year we were married. We were laughing on a pier, her arms around my neck, the wind making her hair ridiculous. She'd written 4 words on the back. I did love you. I didn't take it as a plea. I took it as closure. I moved in with a friend for a while, focused on breathing, on healing. I started therapy, real therapy, not just sad journaling in my phone at 2 a.m. I started hiking again, sleeping through the night, cooking for myself like I deserved real meals, reclaiming parts of me that had been starving in silence for too long. And now, I'm good. Not perfect, not healed completely, but good. I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain. I just don't want to live inside her chaos anymore. And maybe that's what real healing is, not revenge, not triumph, just peace. It took a betrayal to find myself again, and I'll never forget that, but I'll never go back either.